A coming-of-age story involving witches at war, lots of magic, and as much blood and gore as you want. What in the world could go wrong? Hello, entertainment enthusiasts. This is Ray, and this is The Fandom Realm. Today I'm reviewing the Netflix show The Bastard Son and the Devil Himself. Now, this is going to be a spoiler review, so just make sure you're aware of that. I do want to comment before I get started that there are several outlets that I've seen on like Facebook, on YouTube, that have been reporting that this series is an LGBTQ plus story. Now, I just want to clear this up for everyone. If you're looking for that story, I don't think this is really what this show is about, and it really isn't a big part of it. The story that is involved doesn't actually develop until late in episode 6. And again, I really don't consider it a real major point of the series. Now, The Bastard Son and the Devil Himself is based on the young adult book trilogy Half Bad by Sally Green. Now, before I get started, I do just want to say that originally I was going to review each episode. Then, after I watched the first few episodes, I really thought, hey, this is a little bit average, and I wasn't real sure people would want to see 8 reviews. So actually, I ended up binging the first 6 episodes, and it was extremely late, so I went to bed. I went to work the next day, and I guess my brain sort of processed the series, and I started thinking about it a little bit in a different way. And so when I got home, I finished the binge and watched episodes 7 and 8. And I really thought these episodes were extremely good. So what I have decided to do is I'm going to review episode 1 and episode 8. Then I'm going to review the remaining 6 episodes in pairs, because in the end, I basically did like the series and where it went. The Bastard Son and the Devil Himself is based on the young adult book trilogy Half Bad by Sally Green. There are 8 episodes. The plot highlights the conflict between 2 sects of witches, the Fairborns, the good witches, and the Bloods, or blood witches. Those are the bad witches, supposedly. The series is going to follow young Nathan Byrne, a 16-year-old high school student who has been prophesied to be able to kill the evil leader of the Blood Witches, Marcus Edge, who just happens to be Nathan's father. And paraphrased, the prophecy basically says that the beast would be destroyed by his own blood. And that leads all of the Fairborn witches to believe that the only way to kill Marcus Edge is to use the blood of his son, Nathan. Now, getting into a recap of episode 1. Episode 1 is going to set the background for the series by introducing us to young Nathan, who has been taken out of his house after his mother died, along with his half-sister. The Fairborn Council is really interested in him because they fear him, but a prophecy that they were given by another witch, who is never wrong, implies that his blood will kill the leader of the Blood Witches. So they replace him and his half-sister, who blames him for their mother's death. They place them with their grandmother, who is also a witch, and the Fairborn Council will monitor him because he could be a blood witch. So Celia, a witch with freezing powers, is assigned to be his caseworker, or at least that's what I'm calling it. She meets with him every month and asks him a set of questions, which an answer of yes to any of them could be a bad thing. She also cuts his arm and observes how long it takes to heal, because healing faster than normal might also mean that he was a blood witch. Jessica, his half-sister, is a Fairborn witch, but she can't stand her brother. She's very creepy. She basically blames him for their mother's death. She's going to constantly be a thorn in his side, and her powers turn out to be that she's able to transform into other people. One part of the world building here is that witches, when they turn 17, they get their powers. They receive 3 gifts from a family member and also some of that family member's blood. They're actually going to show this with Jessica and her grandmother. Her grandmother gives her 3 gifts and then drops of her blood in her mouth. It's a little gross, but that's the world they live in. After this ceremony, at some point, the witch's power will develop. Now, throwing in a little background, Marcus is actually hated so much because as leader of the Blood Witches, he was responsible for a massacre of Fairborns while at a peace council. They also established that Marcus is such a powerful witch because he actually can take other witches' powers. That is his actual power. And he can take other witches' powers by eating their hearts. By doing this, he has become the most powerful and most dangerous witch in the world, to the point that the Fairborn Council wants to hunt him down and kill him. Moving on, we are introduced to several other major characters. One is Annalise, the daughter of another major character, Sol, who's the chief administrator of the Fairborn Council. That whole family is going to play a part because Niles is Annalise's brother, and he is a huge bully. Now, we're going to get to see basically things start as Annalise is a new student at school. She and Nathan are going to develop a mutual like for each other, but her brother is not going to like this, and Niles is going to bully Nathan horribly. Eventually, Nathan's going to turn on him, and they have a confrontation. Nathan's going to be taken to the Fairborn Council, where the witches use a special power to show him one of his father's attacks, and that leads him to realize how important all this is. Later, after a visit by Celia, Jessica, who takes the form of Annalise, draws Nathan into an ambush with Niles. They almost basically torture Nathan, and after getting cut, Nathan has enough. He reacts, he attacks Niles, they end up falling on the floor, and in an accident, Nathan is stabbed. Both Jessica and Niles leave, and eventually Nathan's grandmother finds him and heals his wound. The next morning, a bloodied, angry Nathan rushes to school and in a rage attacks Niles, and he beats his face to a pulp. I mean, he was delivering a beatdown. Now, I'll be honest, it was a severe beatdown, and I don't think I ever really caught whether or not Niles survived the attack. Nathan returns to his grandmother's, and she realizes something bad is going on, and she tells him there's one person who can help him, and her name is Mercury. They end up doing a spell together, and Mercury takes over his grandmother. And while he's talking to her, she carves a map into Nathan's palm and tells him when the time comes that he needs help, all he's got to do is call for help. The first episode ends with the Fairborn Council authorities outside of their trailer ordering Nathan to come out. So I just want to talk about a few things that jump out to me. First is the remarkable restraint that Nathan showed so much over the years. Just the fact that you know that people don't like you, and you have known for so long why people don't like you, because his sister told him years earlier. Also, the questioning by Celia every month had to be basically degrading, getting cut every month to see how fast you heal, so they can judge if you're going to be a blood witch or not. I thought he went through a lot and showed remarkable restraint. And then when he started talking to Annalise and he started getting this direct bullying from Niles, it's really amazing to me he didn't turn evil just right there. He was trying to do what was expected of him. He doesn't want to be a blood witch. He doesn't want to be evil. But it does show that anybody can turn or break at some point if they're pushed hard enough. Now, I also like Jay Lycurgo, I think that's how you pronounce his name, who plays Nathan. He has really gotten some nice shots in the industry lately. He's playing Tim Drake in the series Titans, which I'll also be reviewing as the new season is starting today. And he also had a role in The Batman, teasing a possible stint as Robin. So I really liked his portrayal of Nathan. He was able to add all the innocence that the character needed, and then also tons of sarcasm. I love characters that are sarcastic, and that's how he dealt with this constant bullying, this constant questioning by the Fairborn Council and Celia. He was sarcastic about it all, and I thought it worked really well. I thought he pulled it off and did a good job of that. Now, I also like the character of Jessica. She is being portrayed as basically very menacing towards Nathan, very negative. She blames him for their mother's death. She blames them for being hated because of Nathan's father. And so with that, she is developing an attitude of being against Nathan. And that is seen when she lures him into the ambush with Niles, and then they basically go to torture him. And so she's responsible for a lot of this. And something that occurs to me early on for this episode is you have this kid in Nathan who is basically a good kid. The problem is everything on the outside, being tested by the Fairborn Council, being questioned by the council, having his sister, all of that is sort of leading him to the dark side. And if everybody would just leave him alone, let him develop naturally, what would happen in that case? Now, another good thing I like is I thought the music stood out. I really enjoyed the music during the show. It really added some mystery, an element of mystery to the show. And so I thought that just stood out. Now, I don't have many negatives, and they're not huge negatives. The first is that, as tends to happen in book adaptations, we don't get a lot of backstory here. We don't get a lot of buildup of, what is this world going to be early on? How did the Bloods and the Fairborns develop? Why is there a conflict between them? Things like that. What's the relationship between witches and humans? And so with that, I always think book adaptations can give a little more information early on to sort of hook you in a little better. Another thing, specifically with young adult fantasy shows, is they should try, I think, to get more well-known actors. Out of this entire cast, the only actor I knew was Jay Lycurgo, and that's basically from Titans and the Batman. And I like him in those, but he needs some support in there. The acting was fine overall. I think they could have used some higher profile actors to get this show out there a little more, even if they were just very short roles. Now, I'm going to end up giving this episode, number 1 of The Bastard Son and the Devil Himself, a B- for the reasons I've already listed. I really like the potential world that is being set up, and anytime you have witches and magic and they're at conflict, I am there for that. Now, having said that, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this review. Please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and comment below, and I'll see you next time on the Fandom Realm.